I am German, and I think about food constantly, about what it means, about what goes into it, about whether the thing you are calling cheese is, in fact, cheese. Today, 5 foods. 5 things that Americans eat with great enthusiasm, with complete joy, with absolutely no hesitation, that Germans look at and think, I have questions. I am not judging, I am just wondering. Let's go. Hello, willkommen. Welcome back to German American Life and Vibes, the channel where we explore the beautiful, confusing, deeply entertaining friendship between Germany and America. Today's episode is a love letter to American food. A love letter with some very honest questions in it. 5 foods that are completely normal in America, that Germans encounter, usually for the first time, with an expression I can only describe as very polite confusion. And in each case, we are going to find out why. Because there is always a why. The food history is always interesting, and the cultural gap is always funny. When did dessert become the structural foundation of the cake? It is someone's birthday in America. There is a cake. The cake is beautiful. It is tall. It is colorful. And it is wearing on every single surface an amount of buttercream frosting that a German person can only describe as structural. Not decorative. Structural. Like the frosting is holding the cake together. Like without the frosting, the cake would simply collapse into flour and memory. In Germany, we have cake. Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte. Layers of chocolate sponge, cherries, cream. Käsekuchen. So elegant, so restrained, it practically apologizes for taking up space on the plate. German cake is balanced. The sweetness is in conversation with other flavors. American cake, in the classic birthday tradition, is a different proposition. The cake is the vehicle. The frosting is the destination. And it is not just cake. Cinnamon rolls, frosted. Pope tarts, frosted. Cookies, frosted. There are frosted animal crackers. There are, and I want you to really hear this, frosted mini wheats. A cereal that is 1/2 wholesome shredded wheat and 1/2 sugar glaze. And the entire product exists as a negotiation between these two impulses. A German looks at this and thinks, who won? Here is the thing, though. In the 19th century, refined white sugar was a luxury, a status symbol. To serve a cake buried in white sugar frosting was to say, we have made it. We are celebrating something real. The abundance was the point. The excess was the message. America never really stopped sending that message. The frosting stayed, because the feeling it represented stayed. Celebration. Generosity. Giving someone more than they expected. Germany said, I love you. Here is a cake that took 3 days to make. America said, I love you. Here is an enormous amount of buttercream. Both are love, just very different love languages. The paste that conquered a continent. Germany has peanut butter. It sits on the shelf, quietly, next to the Nutella, which has considerably more shelf space, considerably more product variants, and considerably more cultural status. In Germany, peanut butter is a thing you can buy if you want it. In America, peanut butter is a food group. Americans put it in sandwiches, cookies, smoothies, oatmeal, savory sauces, ice cream, protein bars, flavored popcorn. There is, and I have seen this with my own eyes, peanut butter whiskey. Peanut butter whiskey. A German person encounters this information and needs a moment. But here is the fascinating part. Peanut butter's rise to total American food dominance is not an accident of taste. It is a story about war. Peanut butter was promoted in the early 1900s as a cheap, shelf-stable, protein-rich alternative to meat. During both World Wars, when meat was rationed, Americans were encouraged to eat peanut butter instead. An entire generation grew up with it as a staple, as a comfort food, as the smell of home. And then, the food industry put it in everything. Because it could go in everything. Germany watched this from across the Atlantic with the mild curiosity of a country that had Nutella and felt, honestly, quite settled. I will say this, the first time I tried a really good peanut butter cookie, that crosshatch fork pattern on top, slightly salty, slightly crumbly, I understood something. Not everything, but something. The peanut butter whiskey I am still working on. A product description that raises more questions than it answers. Germany makes over 150 varieties of cheese, distinct regional cheeses, each with their own character, their own history, their own very strong opinion about when it is appropriate to eat them. Cheese in Germany is a morning food, an evening food, a food for celebrations and ordinary Tuesday dinners. It is part of the Abendbrot, the cold evening meal that is the cornerstone of German domestic life. So you will understand the experience of a German person encountering, for the first time, the American processed cheese single, individually wrapped, in plastic, each one identical. The color of something that was once yellow. And on the packaging, and this is the part that really gets Germans, it does not say cheese. It says, pasteurized, prepared cheese product. Cheese product. A German reads this and thinks, so you are telling me up front, in writing, on the package, that this is not cheese. And then there is the spray cheese. Cheese in a can, applicable to crackers or directly into the mouth with a precision that I respect even as I remain confused by it. Here's what I find genuinely interesting. Processed cheese was not born from laziness. Kraft developed a method of pasteurizing and emulsifying cheese so that it would not spoil, in an era before widespread refrigeration, so leaders could have cheese in their rations. Families in remote areas could have cheese on the shelf. The shelf stability was not a compromise. It was the entire point. Germany solved the same problem differently. Keep the cheese real, build a very good cold chain. One solution melts beautifully on a burger. One pairs beautifully with a Riesling. Both are allowed to be true. At what point does breakfast become cake? In Germany, breakfast is a meal. A real, savory, structured meal. Fresh bread or rolls from the bakery. Butter. Sliced cheese. Cold cuts. A soft-boiled egg. A proper cup of coffee. This is not a luxury breakfast. This is a Tuesday. And then, a German person sits down at an American diner and the menu arrives and something in their brain very quietly short-circuits. Pancakes. A stack of them. With butter and maple syrup and powdered sugar. Alongside bacon, which is also slightly sweet because the bacon has been glazed. Or orange juice. Sweet. Coffee with flavored creamer, sweet. A little basket of miniature muffins on the table, very sweet. A German person looks at this and thinks, is this a breakfast or is this a birthday party? The question is not rhetorical. They genuinely want to know. The sweet breakfast in America has deep roots. RM workers, factory workers, people doing physical labor needed fast energy. Sweet foods deliver that. And then Kellogg's and Post convinced America that cereal was the modern healthy breakfast. And cereal, even the supposedly healthy kinds, is primarily sweet. That shaped a palate. That shaped what mornings feel like for an American. And I will say this, there is something genuinely joyful about the American sweet breakfast. The Sunday stack of pancakes with syrup running down the sides. I understand the appeal. I do. I just cannot shape the feeling that I am eating dessert, and that I will be slightly confused until lunchtime. A study in beautiful, baffling chaos. Thanksgiving is sacred to Americans, and I respect that completely. The family ritual of it, the way it brings people home, I find it genuinely moving. But I must talk about the plate. The Thanksgiving plate is a plate that has abandoned the concept of boundaries. On this plate, roast turkey, stuffing cooked inside the turkey and therefore containing the flavor of everything. Mashed potatoes, gravy over the potatoes and also somewhat over everything else. Green bean casserole with fried onions on top. Sweet potato casserole with marshmallows on top. Marshmallows on a vegetable at dinner as a normal thing. Cranberry sauce, sweet and tart, sitting directly next to the turkey, touching it. Bread rolls. Everything touching everything. Gravy migrating into the cranberry sauce. The entire plate a democracy of flavors in which no one has veto power. A German person looks at this and experiences what I can only describe as respectful vertigo. In Germany, each component of a meal has its own character, its own flavor. You taste the thing, not the thing plus 6 other things that have been slowly marinating together since they arrived on the plate. But here is what I have come to understand after many years and many Thanksgiving invitations from very patient American friends. The chaos is the point. The Thanksgiving is about abundance, about the table so full that things overflow, about everyone bringing their dish, their grandmother's recipe, and all of it landing together without hierarchy. The marshmallows on the sweet potato are someone's grandmother's recipe. The cranberry sauce is someone else's. These are not culinary choices. These are family. These are memory. Germany has this too. The Christmas table, the Easter breakfast. Foods that carry the entire weight of a season and a childhood. We just keep them on separate parts of the plate. Five foods. 5 moments of very polite German confusion. And 5 stories underneath them, each one more interesting than the food itself. Frosting that was once a status symbol. Peanut butter that fed a nation through 2 wars. Processed cheese that solved a refrigeration problem. A sweet breakfast built by cereal companies and never really questioned again. And a plate of chaos that is actually a plate of love. The things that look strange from the outside almost always make complete sense from the inside. You just have to know where to look. Germany and America do almost everything differently at the table. But the impulse underneath it all, to feed the people you love well, to make the table generous, to have something on the plate that means something. That part is exactly the same, even when one version has marshmallows on it. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Like the video if it made you hungry, or at least made you look at your breakfast differently. And leave me a comment. Which of these 5 foods are you defending? And is there an American food you think Germans are completely wrong to be confused about? I want to know. Guten Appetit. Tschüss, bis bald.